Yeah, yeah, that's some fun times. So we got all these, Blake and I both are from Mississippi. Blake's from Jones County, which, by the way, we have a guest. This is my good buddy, Blake Houston. Welcome to the podcast, the Words with
Thank you,
Woodsman
guys.
podcast.
Yes, thank you so much. Looking forward to being here.
You look so studious with all the books behind you, and
I try to showcase all the ones that I haven't read.
yeah,
So,
well, that's
just want to
great. We only have
everybody.
Randy on here, and I'm not sure he can read. So it's a.
That's usually my line.
Is that your line? Did I take your line?
Come on.
Yeah.
I hope you're watching this, Randy.
Well, guys, welcome to the Words with Woodsman podcast. We got my good buddy, I don't know what else, my good buddy Blake from the Gulf Coast of South Mississippi. Welcome to the podcast. We're glad that you're here. What's your hat say there, bud? Is it upside down?
It is. It really freaks people out when you see it for everybody that's watching on video. So the lower thing is just Ocean Springs, but it's really not backwards. It's upside down. So it says bright-eyed. I don't know if you can see it in that way.
You know what that makes me think of? So if you ever
that?
see those stickers on the back of Jeeps where it's like, no
you
problem,
can read this,
and then upside down it says problem. Like it makes, so if you're upside down, there's a problem.
If you see the hat upside down, that means I've had one too many coffees from this place.
But that seems to be a trend. Everybody's got the upside down hats now. I don't get it.
It's a thing, man. It's a thing. I think it started in Dallas.
You know what else is the thing?
I have
all
no
upside down there.
That. I have no evidence for that. I really don't know.
We have an official announcement on the podcast. Okay, you ready for this?
Woohoo!
So ready.
Josh Webb, of course, it might be past now. I'm not sure. Josh Webb is officially in style for the first time in his entire life because people are wearing camo too. Like, yeah.
Hey, I cast today.
You did. That's subtle camo.
We can't see you. You blend in with the books.
my daughter today, she's 7, and she told me today I was at her school picking her up, and we were in the front office area, and she said, "Daddy, you're wearing camo." I was like, "Yeah." She said, "You could blend in with the filing cabinets."
Oh my gosh.
Well, that's more like closer to like Navy camo. That's not Duck Dynasty. Okay, it's not Phil Robertson.
Right.
This is like Army. This is like Desert Storm like camo, but
yeah.
You're really close to like that Navy camo with that.
Yeah, this is that night vision camo, man. I'm going after those, black leopards.
The
things like
Banter.
that. Stuff like that. Really deep. Happy deer season, everybody.
Happy deer season.
At least down here.
That's a national holiday.
It should be.
Oh, today's my birthday.
Today is your birthday. Yep, absolutely. Happy birthday, bud.
This morning I got up early we drove, so we live on the coast, but drove up to Laurel to get my grandfather for a Veterans Day thing. So it's Veterans Day while we're recording this. And so I bring him back down to the coast, but on my way up to Laurel from the Gulf Coast, which is about an hour and a half away, I stop at a gas station, only gas station on this stretch of land. And I walk in and there is no other joker in sight except for one dude. And this joker is dressed head to toe in camo.
My people.
And he's like, "Hey, brother, I know." And I don't know this dude from Adam. I do not know, but somehow he knows me. And we're talking, and he's like, "Hey, man." And I said, "I know exactly what you're doing at 4:45 a.m. in the morning."
Getting him snacks.
With the dressed head to, he said, "Yeah, man, I'm coming to get my beef jerky."
Mm-hmm.
He said, it's time. I said, "Well, brother, you better go with beef jerky. You better come back with backstrap."
Yeah.
That's all I need from you.
Look, there's something about, and my thing, you probably could tell by looking at me. My thing is those Little Debbie fudge rounds. There's something about a Little Debbie fudge round or a moon pie in the deer stand.
In a deer stand.
It just tastes better.
Yes.
The plastic split it open.
Now it's the Little Debbie Christmas trees, man. You gotta get the Christmas trees going.
Look, all the things on TikTok about the Christmas trees is cracking me up. Like, have you seen the one where it's like the guy standing outside of his work? He's like, when you don't smoke, but you need something to get you through the day. And the guy's like got the whole box of Christmas trees and he's tapping it on his hand like cigarettes. Like, it's fantastic. And you got the snuff thing going on. Yeah.
That's a Jones County handshake right there, man. That's how
I did that
each
for my
other.
wife one time, and she's like, "What are you doing?" Like she looked at me like I had 6 heads. Yeah. Well, buddy, man, we're so glad that you're here. We're glad that you decided to join us today, man. It's been a couple years since, you and I got to hang out and
I know,
chat.
yeah.
And of course, we're going to do it on a public forum, right now, but
I was about to say I had to get you on a podcast, man,
I'm
to
telling you,
get a
I'm telling you.
conversation going.
Yeah. But bud, kind of catch us up and, for our listeners, tell a little bit of your story on, how you came to know Jesus, what he's been doing in your life
Yeah.
and kind of bring everybody up to this point. And hey, you never know who it's going to encourage.
Yeah, for sure. So, man, first off, thank you guys so much for the opportunity to jump on to this podcast. I am a free stater, so Jones County, like anytime, you'll see progressively as we go through the episode, my southern drawl comes back more and more. So, like
Yeah.
you get down here on the coast, and that kind of ebbs away for a little while. But the more we start talking about deer stands and backstrap, the more that southern accent starts to
We'll,
really creep back in.
we'll put subtitles under you if we need to.
That's right. By the end of it, it's going to be
You'll,
like one of the
you'll be like the guy from Waterboy that
That's
lived a
exactly what
man
I
on
was
our
thinking.
day.
Yes.
Like,
Anything like and when you make it.
it's like
It's like
Coach O on ESPN's the only coach I've ever seen that needed subtitles.
that's exactly right. Some gumbo.
Yeah. Go
Yeah, I love
Tigers.
go Tigers. But yeah, so grew up in the Free State. So I'm from Pensacola originally, and a big part of my story and how I got to Jones County was so my mom and my dad they met at Southern Miss, and then she moves with him to Florida to Pensacola. And so they were married for just a little while when she was pregnant with me, and then my dad leaves my mom, and so that left mom with just a whole bunch of a brand new newborn baby and a lot of debt and trying to figure out what was next. And so she moves back in. She moves back to Laurel, where she's from originally, to in with my grandparents, her parents. And so all my life, I grew up with my grandmother, my grandfather, and my mom and me. So it was the four of us in the house. And so I essentially grew up with two moms and a dad, and both of the moms could cook. And that's why I look like I do today, because there was never not a sweet potato pie sitting on the
Amen.
counter. And so I grew up with a lot of angst, man. So a lot of frustration and bitterness around just my station in life. It wasn't really that much early on, but as I grew up, I started recognizing my life is a lot different than my friends' lives were, and why couldn't I have these kinds of things? And where was dad? And all this kind of stuff. And one of the gifts that I didn't realize until a lot later, but one of the things that the Lord blessed me with was being able to grow up in in a household with my grandparents who loved the Lord. Good gracious, they loved the Lord. It was never a question on if we were going to go to church. It was get your butt up on Sunday. We're going to church. And we're going to go to church on Sunday morning for Sunday school. Then we're going to go Sunday morning for church. And then we're going to go for visitation at 4 and choir practice at 5 and discipleship training after that. And then Sunday night church. I mean,
And we're going to
we were
mop the
there
floors at
all the time.
midnight. And yeah.
That's what we did. Yeah, that's exactly right. Put the tables up, put the chairs up on the tables when you leave.
Yeah.
And so I tell people all the time that the way my story should have worked out is, being a child of a single mom in a place like Jones County, where really the only two things to do are either go to church and then or dip, smoke, and get in trouble on the backside of a Sonic. Those were really your two options. And I should have been a statistic, truthfully. But it was the goodness of my grandparents, but also like loving my mom and me well, and my mom's dedication to that as well, who that really kind of set a trajectory for me up front. That was the moment where I recognized, oh wow, this is going to be the rhythm of my life. And so I was in church from a very early age, like I was saying, throughout all kinds of different activities and stuff. And we were part of a great church that was called Salem Heights Baptist Church up in Laurel. And man, amazing church. Was so thankful for them. And so I gave my heart to Christ at 11 years old, but I still struggled with a lot of bitterness. So I gave my heart to Christ, got saved, found faith in Christ at 11. And then at the age of 12, I surrendered to full-time ministry. And so that was a crazy
Wow.
moment. I just turned right around. I was like, yeah, I want to be a preacher. And they were like, are you sure about that?
Uh-oh.
Are you
Let's
sure
give him
about
multiple
that?
choice again.
That's right. And they ran me through the ringer, man. So one of the real cool graces and charisms that Salem Heights has and had in that season was the developing of young pastors.
Mm.
And and young men who had really tough backgrounds. And through one person in particular, his name's Troy Hobson, and Troy was our student pastor growing up. And so my student pastor is like a dad to me, and just an incredible man of God. He had a knack of taking the island of misfit toys kind of boys and bringing them into the student ministry and just putting us to work. And I remember we were flipping chicken in the grill, at the back of the kitchen there. You were talking about mopping at midnight. We would mop at
Mhm.
midnight. And
He
there was
really
one
just
time
needed
all of
workforce.
that's 100% what it was. It was free labor. And and he would put us to work, but in the meantime, as we went, he would teach us the deep things of Scripture. I think there's something to that I learned just as much about the Bible, about the Word, through his life and through the way that he worked alongside of us. He was the hardest worker. He is the hardest worker I know, and just the experience of being next to him and all that. Now he's a knucklehead. Like sometimes he'd be crazier than a run over dog, but it's
There's that Jones County.
there it is right there.
There
I
it
told you, it's
is.
just taking just a little bit of time. And the but the way he loves people well was something that really left a mark on me. And so, like I said, I got saved at 11, and that was just a culmination of just years and years of going to church and being around people like Troy and gleaning that faith as we go. It just was a really natural progression into that. I tell people I don't have like this crazy, come to Jesus story when it comes to faith. It was really just kind of just the consistency of my family, my mom, my grandparents, Troy, just pouring into me that 11 at 11, I was like, yeah, this
Yeah.
is it. I buy into this full, lock, stock, and barrel. And that was awesome. Now, one thing that I didn't realize at the time, and this has taken a lot of conversation with people and with myself, with my wife, Lauren, we talked a lot about it. I didn't realize that there was a moment of salvation. Like there was a moment I gave my life to Jesus full out, without a doubt. And then there was a lot of saving that still needed to be done in my life in terms of rescue from the bitterness. Because the heart and the root of bitterness that I had from my father was, oh man, it was brutal. And it wasn't until later on, 15, 16, that I was at a spring break retreat, which is not that kind of trip, not that kind of spring break trip. It was a church trip. And we jumped into a worship session, and the guy, his name is Drew Brent Denton. I don't even know if he's still preaching anymore. He he was preaching a message on forgiveness, and it was that night that God just wrecked me, and he said, "Hey, you've given your life to me, but now I want you to give that bitterness to me too, and
Mm.
I want you to give everything over to me." And so that was the moment where I laid it all out. I said, "Okay, God, you're gonna have that too," and he started rebuilding in me this understanding and concept of what it means to have a father. And that's always been one of the biggest things for me. And I think that's probably a lot for a lot of people is this idea of um, generational gaps, generational curse, generational heartache, whatever you want to call it, things that just kind of sit in our spirit. And that's the thing for me is that father wound that I carried for so long and still have scars from. But the goodness of God and all that, like, I used to be really angry, really bitter about, "God, why was my life like this? Why did dad leave mom? Why did all this stuff happen?" And then the Lord started to reveal to me, he's like, "No, no. If that hadn't have happened, you'd still be in Pensacola. Who knows what would have happened if you'd have been
Mm.
in that environment? But I brought you out, and I placed you underneath incredible people to bring about faith, and the trajectory of your life is completely different now. It's totally different." And so I cling to that verse in Genesis 50:20. It's the story of Joseph, where he looks at his brothers and he said, "What the enemy intended for harm, God intends for good and for the saving of many lives." And that has always worked, carried with me, and something that I carry with me even today. Now that carries on a little bit more into my story. I'll kind of go into the ministry side of it in a second, but just the personal side. So I left Laurel, left Salem Heights, and I go to Southern Miss to the top. So I was dead set, man. I was
Only
dead set. I
only
told
South
we
Mississippi people know what that means.
that's okay. You guys can look it up later. I actually am proud to be talking about football during football season We are 7-2, baby. So let's
Hey, it's
go.
okay. It's okay. I like the team that I got like adopted into here. Like that they don't do a whole lot better, so it's okay.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Can we take a side for just a second? I know
Have
this
a
isn't a
moment of
football
silence for both
podcast.
teams.
We can have a moment of silence, but I need to talk about the dark mode uniforms that Tennessee wears.
Isn't that cool?
Those things are the
That's
top. They're top shelf, man. That is
top
S tier
shelf.
stuff.
Absolutely.
That is S tier uniforms. Anyway, one of my favorite games that I ever went to for Southern Miss was at Rocky Top. We went up to Knoxville, and it was a beautiful environment.
It's a different
Love seeing
experience.
the Tennessee Navy there, right there. Oh my gosh, man, that was incredible. So, yeah, go to Southern Miss, and it's where I meet Josh. Well, you were at Cary, but
I
we
was at
met each other at the church. At what was the artist previously known as First Hattiesburg,
yeah.
and now Venture Church. We were there together, but that's also where I met my wife and Lauren, who I am now married to. We just came on 10 years of marriage. She's kept me around that long, which praise the Lord, it's
Congrats,
amazing.
man.
Hey, yeah, we are loving it. This has been
Maybe
awesome.
maybe we should say congrats to her. Congrats, Lauren. Yeah.
No. I think it needs to be congrats to me.
Oh,
Honestly.
okay. You better be careful. She's probably going to watch this.
No. I'm just saying, like, congrats to me that she
She'll
kept me
never know
around
about
this
it.
long.
She'll never. We're far. Andy makes this joke. Hey, we're far enough in. The wives have stopped watching at this point, so we're probably
Yeah.
good.
What's that old man? It's like, they're never gonna know. She's gonna know. They're never gonna know. That's the one. But yeah, so met her at Southern, and she was at Cary. I was at Southern. Met at church, and so we get married in 2015. Have our little girl in 2018, and so she's 7 now. Her name's Henley Grace, and she's an incredible redhead. And then in 2022, we found out that we're pregnant again, and as that season progresses, we found out that we're going to have a son. Now, the Lord has done so much work in me from the beginning of my life to giving my life to Him to the bitterness and the root of bitterness. I thought I was riding, we were just sailing on the
Cruising.
whole father wound stuff, generational stuff. And I did not realize how much stuff there was still there until the doctor looked at us and said, "You're going to have a little boy." And something in me just wrecked. And all of a sudden, the feelings of inadequacy, all of a sudden, the feelings of you're just going to be the same trajectory of your dad. The reason why I felt that way was, so a little bit of backstory about me. My middle name is William. So I'm Blake William. I have 2 half brothers. We all have different moms, same dad. It's Taylor William and Reese William. So they're both the middle names are Williams. My dad's name is Mark William. His dad's name is Robert William. His dad's name is something William, and his dad's name is the OG William. So for 7 generations, we have had William in the name of our family. A couple of other things to take note of is there has not been a female born to our side of the family in those 7 generations until Henley Grace, our daughter. So mine and Lauren's daughter is the first female born on our side of the family in 7 generations. We're talking like
it's like statistically impossible.
it's crazy. And pre-World War I, like all this kind of stuff. You trace it, it's wild. And so you take that story and just kind of keep walking it down. And so no females born, all of us are named William, but also in those same 7 generations, there is a generational curse of alcoholism and divorce that follows the name William. And so whenever we found out we were having a little boy, there was just something that came over me that I was like, nah, nope. His middle name will not be William. I will name that kid Dakota. I don't know, whatever. Sorry for everybody who is actually named Dakota.
Why is that the worst name ever? Like, why Dakota?
I don't know. I don't know.
Listener, and your name is Dakota. I'm so sorry.
They're going to have.
Maybe this podcast is not for you.
Try the Unashamed podcast. Yeah. There's some good guys. Yeah.
Dakota's like the worst name according to Blake.
Yeah.
Sorry,
or girls.
I apologize.
I know a girl Dakota. So
I apologize to all the Dakotas out there. Josh promises to get you some brand new free Woodsman merch with the Woodsman written upside down.
And we apologize to all the North and South Dakotas.
Yes, yes.
For all of
Well,
our fans. if you're in the plains and this is all you got, I'm sorry.
so sorry about the Sioux Falls people, man.
Yeah.
I was just dead set. I was like, William will not be part of his story, and did a lot of praying over it. Did a lot of seeking the Lord and asking, like, God, what, we're gonna have a little boy. Okay, so I got to come to terms with that. And there was excitement too, but also a lot of fear. And just more and more that we prayed about it, we felt really strongly that his middle name needed to be William. And so our son's name is Hatcher William, Hatcher William Houston. He is the eighth generation William. But the name Hatcher is really significant because the name Hatcher, it means gatekeeper. And so we're believing and just thanking God that he is going to be the first William that gets to live in generational blessing instead of generational curse. And he gets to be the gatekeeper of the resignification of the name William. And that's just such a cool testimony to how God, one of the verses that I love comes out of Exodus 20, where it says, God's a jealous God, and that, he punishes to the third and fourth generations. Yeah. But then he goes on, he says, but because of his steadfast love, he blesses to the thousandth generation. And just the how that comes together, and that's talking about different things, but the generational understanding of that is just so powerful to me. And it really ministers to my heart every time that I read it and I think about Hatcher and his story. But also because this idea of generational curse versus generational blessing, he is able to be the gatekeeper of this resignification of the name William, because where the root stopped in that curse, I was taken out of no doing of my own, but God took me out and grafted me in to my grandparents. And I got to see every other person in the womb, like my brothers and my dad and his dad and his dad, all of them had to grow up in the environment of that generational, except for me. I was taken out of it and plugged in to an incredibly loving, passionate about Jesus family and my grandparents. So I got to see something different. So because of the generational blessing that I received, I was able to pass that down to my son. But the thing that I'm learning about generational curse is that it flows down, sure, but generational blessing, it flows out.
Mm.
And so, like, not only am I able to see this in my son and the way that he's growing up and able to see a family, but I also got to officiate my brother's wedding back in 2022.
Cool.
And we did not grow up together. We had different moms, but we have a really great relationship. And I was able to officiate their wedding. And so that's just the beauty of generational blessing, just seeping. Like, it doesn't just go down, it goes up, it goes out, it goes every which way.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the coolest, that's one of the coolest things I'm experiencing in our story right there. So that's the personal side of just my life and story and faith. I mentioned earlier I went to Southern Miss, and we did connect at a church called Banter Church, and so I actually had the deep honor of serving there for over 11 years, which was
Wow.
crazy. So was on staff there up until about 5 weeks ago. 5 weeks ago, we felt a real strong call from the Lord to step away and bless the church that we were a part of and just thank God for them. But the Lord was like, hey, it's time for a new assignment. And we're still discerning what that is, particularly. But the season that we came out of was an incredible season being at Venture. We were in Hattiesburg, part of the campus up there. Venture's a multiple campuses, multi-site church. And so we had the opportunity to go and lead and to pastor one of our campuses that we moved and planted on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. And what a deep gift that was. That was so cool to be a part of. And we were there for 7 years. So for 7 years, we were planting this campus, went through COVID with this campus, started in multi-site, started in portable. And it was wild. There were so many crazy stories and all of that. And it was only recently that we started praying and really feeling deeply from the Lord. He was telling us, like, hey, there's something new. And there's something to be said about getting really comfortable where you are, and the moment that you get really comfortable where you are, God's like, hey, it's time to trust me again.
I got a
And
little plan for you.
there's yeah, here we go, we're swerving. And cruise control was never really on God's agenda. And so there's something there to think about on all that. But so yeah, we felt several weeks ago that it was time to step into a new season. And so what we're praying through now and seeking the Lord on, honestly, I've been telling people I've just been playing catch up on what God is doing. Like God is steps ahead. I'm just trying to run and catch up and
Welcome
and
to the
chase.
club.
That's right. That's right, man. I was about to say it's probably very similar to you guys with Woodsman and everything that you guys are going through and building. And it's really cool to see how you guys are doing that. And so one of the things that got started was the week after we had stepped away and we were kind of in this, season like, all right, God, we did what you asked. What now? And one of the things he very clearly said was two things. It was number one was to start inviting as many people as possible to pray for an outpouring of the Spirit on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. And number two was to get a group of men who know me, but that did not live on the coast so that nothing that we did would impact their trajectory, impact the rhythm of their life, but that knew me and could tell me, like, hey, dude, you're being a knucklehead right now. You need to, some accountability. Uh, and so I started getting those men together and I was really thankful for that. Um, but then we started inviting people. And so we started this little blog called For the Coast. And it took off in a way that I really wasn't anticipating. It was crazy. People started calling and saying, "We love this. We want to see this." And so then I had a friend ask me, he was like, "Well, have you turned this into a nonprofit, a 501c3?" And I laughed at him. I said, "No, absolutely not. It's a blog, bro. Chill out." And he said, "Man, I really don't think you understand just how special this could be in terms of reaching the whole coast and stirring up the coast towards prayer, generosity, and renewal." And so that really started us down a path. He said, "Okay, God, maybe you're in on this." And we had seen enough to know through conversations and things that the way that the Lord was moving, we'd seen enough to know that He was inviting us to step into it. And so we did. And so we've been stepping into it. And the past 3 weeks in particular, there have been tough times, man. Don't get me wrong. There's been days I've looked around and said, "What in the world is happening?
What are we doing?
No, yeah, what is the what are you doing, Lord?" I think I understand now. I talk about, being a knucklehead a lot. I think I understand now this idea of why the Israelites, after all this amazing stuff that they had seen happen, they just got rescued out of Egypt. The Red Sea had parted. They go off, they sing a big song to the Lord on the other side. And it feels like it's not 20 minutes later that they turn around and be like, "Man, it sure was nice in Egypt. It sure was good over there." They had all the coconut. They don't have coconuts in Egypt. Whatever kind of fruit they had
Why
over
did you
there.
go to coconuts?
I don't know, man. Dakota coconuts,
Yeah, you just
the
all over the place.
coconuts. I don't know. Um, but yeah, I mean, like you look around, they're like, "Man, those things are really great over there." It's really easy to get there because,
Looking back,
and so
yeah.
looking back, and so the prayer that I've been praying is, God, don't let me ever forget that you spoke, that you gave a word, that you told us to go, and we're trusting you. And so we're praying in that, but then every single day there's a new opportunity, there's a new step to take. And so it's been really cool. So forthecoast.org is the name of the website that we've put up, and we're inviting people to just pray. We put up daily prayer prompts, pray every single day. We are praying for an outpouring of the Spirit of God as a movement across the Mississippi Gulf Coast. I think it's ripe for it. The Gulf Coast is a unique place in Mississippi. It's not like anywhere else, as I'm sure Josh, you can attest.
Mhm.
The Gulf Coast it's like a mixture of Cajun country and Mardi Gras country and all these things put together, and Catholic country, all these things just in one big gumbo that sits below I-10. And just trying to figure it out is almost impossible. You just got to be in it, man. You just got to let it rue, let it do its thing. And so it's a really unique opportunity because it's so transient. The things I used to say, it was impossible to do ministry down here. I used to say that all the time. "Man, it's so hard to do ministry on the coast because it's so transient. People are so stuck on other stuff. They go different places." The Lord spoke to me through His Word, and I was reading and I was seeing. I was like, He said, "The things that you thought it was too hard to do ministry are the exact things that I want to use to see an outpouring take place."
Mm.
Yeah, it's transient because as people leave, they're taking the gospel with them to
Yeah.
new places. Yeah, there's a ton of things to do, and the fire of people's desire is stirred up. Sure, absolutely. But it's a lot easier to transfer a fire from one place to another than it is to start one from scratch. That's why you keep the fire going.
It's
And
amazing that
so,
it's amazing that you say that because we're doing this Bible study. We're looking at Paul in Philippians,
mm,
and one of Paul's goals was, hey, let me get to Rome, because
yeah,
if I can get to Rome, this thing will go around the world.
yes. That's
Right.
exactly right, and the Gulf Coast feels the same way. It's if we can see the gospel seeded here, if we can see the soil, because the soil is fertile, man. People are hungry, they want something, and they'll go to a casino. We got tons of casinos down on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. We got tons of different places where you can get pleasure. Like, if there is a word over this place, it's pleasure, and we're asking that God would replace the word pleasure with the word presence, and that his presence would be the centering
Yeah.
word of this place. And that, as it's like you said, as if we can get to Rome, if we can get into the DNA of this place, it will be unstoppable what
Yeah.
God is able to accomplish across the I-10 corridor. That's the vision. Is like, we want to see the I-10 corridor just flooded with the presence of God. And I use that word intentionally because we have seen a lot of flooding. We know what flooding looks like down here. A lot of hurricanes, a lot of storms. But what would it look like just to be completely saturated with the goodness of God, the presence of God? And so we're asking people to start praying for that, to confess, to repent, to turn from the competitive spirit of churches, to turn from the different ideologies, from the different things, the dogmatics that would keep us separated from one another, and say we want to center in on who Christ is, the person and the work of Christ, and ask for the Holy Spirit to fall. And it's been really cool how the Lord has stirred up some things around it.
I love that. I love that so much. And the thing is it really hits um me kind of personally, because it's that whole thought process of doing ministry differently, of doing ministry in a unique way. And my wife and I got to go on that journey of God going, hey, I'm going to pull you out of what you're comfortable doing, which for me was
Mm,
student ministry. I'm going to pull you out of what you're comfortable doing, and I'm not going to give you the whole picture. I'm gonna give you pieces, and I'm like we're gonna be figuring this out together. Now, obviously, he knows how it all plays out, but from my end, it was figuring it out as I go.
mhm.
And the thing, man, I'd love to get you to speak into this specifically, because we might have a listener right now that God's put something on their heart. God's put a ministry on their heart, and they thought, man, that could never happen. Or, hey, I don't have a ministry degree. I didn't go to college for this. Or, hey, I'm not a pastor. Like,
Mm.
how can God use me to do this? What would you say to that person?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question. I think there's coming a day where, and we're already sitting in it, that God is going to call each and every person who believes in Him to a work of ministry, whether that is vocational or not. Like, the label of vocational minister, it's something that we've had for a really, really long time. But God is breaking down the walls, and I'm seeing business owners that are leading Bible studies. I'm seeing, women who are single moms that are creating prayer groups. I mean, it's just incredible to see. So if God's given you a passion to pursue a thing, and chase after it, like, go. We, and I know this sounds, this might sound like kind of in times this, and I'm not trying to get us on all that, but it just feels as if the Lord is searching. He's looking around for people, saying, "Hey, who's going to step in and prepare the soil for my presence to fall?" And Christ is coming back. He's coming back for his bride, and there's going to be a day where he returns and the world will see him. And we have this really unique opportunity in this particular season to let as many people know about the king as we can. And so I would say chase that. I would also say, so that's on one side of things, but I'd also say too that if somebody's in a place of discernment, right, they're asking God, is it this or that? Is it, are you asking me to leave my career? Are you asking me to step into something new? I would invite someone to pray about, say, God, I would love to hold both of these options with an open hand. If you can get yourself to a point of holding both open-handed, it's a whole lot easier to let God speak to you around what he wants you to do than if you've got one open-handed and one closed-handed. It's like,
Okay.
God, I'm holding both out to you, but I really want this one. If you can get to a place of like holding both open and say, God, I'm honestly fine with either one, and I'm gonna trust that you're gonna tell me which one to go on, and I'm gonna take that decision." He's gonna let you know.
Yeah.
He's gonna tell you. He was lavish with his affirmations and confirmations when it was our turn to walk through that particular season. And I mean, it was just, it got to the point where it was either step out into a new season or be disobedient.
Yeah.
That was the decision. I was like, well, obviously we don't want to be disobedient. So Lord, we're going to follow you. And it came with pain. It came with a lot of grief. We loved where we were. We're thankful for it. We're going to miss all the places and the people and the things and the rhythms that we were doing. But at the same time, it is so worth it. It's so
Yeah.
worth it following Jesus. And so
For
that's
me,
how I'd encourage
yeah.
them.
For me, I would also say to this, and this was our story with this with Woodsman, is you don't have to have the whole picture to take a step.
Mm,
You don't have to. In fact, you're probably if you're waiting for the whole picture, you're going to be waiting a long time because
yeah.
you're probably not going to get that right. God is still unfolding things about Woodsman to me that I didn't have on my mind, 2 years ago.
Mhm.
Um, and so I would say that. But what I would also say as I swat up, there's like something flying around my
It's a
head.
fuzz.
It was a fuzz. What I would also say, one, you don't have to have the whole picture. But two, you know, the thing that came down to me is it came down to two things. Am I going to, I can step out into this and that's very scary. I can step out and step out in faith and faith can be very scary sometimes. Right. Or I can have regret. And to me, the regret was scarier.
Yeah.
I can stay comfortable. I like student ministry. I love student ministry. In fact,
Mhm.
I still serve in the student ministry that I used to lead, right? Like I love it. But at the same time, I knew that if we didn't take this leap, I knew that if we didn't go down this road, that if I didn't do that, I would always look back and say, what if? What if we had done that?
Yeah.
And so, man, I love what you're doing. I love that you're taking it step by step. We're going to put your website up on the screen for anyone who wants to subscribe or whatever it is. Do you do to blog? Do you subscribe to a blog? I'm in podcast mode.
Yeah, yeah, no,
Sure,
yeah,
sure, we'll go
that's
with
you
that.
put your email down, and essentially what'll happen is on Sundays, there will be a list of prayer prompts that go throughout the week, and then on Thursdays, there's a reflection just around what the Lord is stirring up, along the coast and how people can continue to be a part of it and pray through it. So would invite anybody that would want to join in the work of prayer, would be honored to have them join us in that.
And I would say this, and we'll kind of say this, and then we'll take a quick break. But man, hey, if you're sitting out there, you're riding on your truck in your truck riding to work or however you're listening to us right now, and you just feel passionate about something. You like maybe it's motorcycles, maybe it's fishing, like for me, or hunting or whatever, right? And you're a believer, and I want to encourage you. Hey, God gave you that desire for a reason, right? Like that. He wants you to use it. And that may not mean you vocationally doing it. I heard someone say, and this changed my perspective on, people going into ministry. There was this pastor that, he had his students from his student ministry that had graduated, and there were like two or three of them that became pastors, and then the rest of them went into the workforce. And someone had pointed that out, that you only had a handful that went into ministry, and he said, good. He said, we can't have them all teaching in the church.
Mm,
We need some out in the workplace teaching Jesus.
that's right.
And I'm like, man, that
That's a
is,
good perspective.
yeah, it's a completely different perspective than what
Yeah.
you normally hear. And that's the thing is, hey, wherever you are, if you're a follower of Jesus Christ, you call him your Lord, wherever you are is your ministry.
Yeah, man. That's such a word. I think we're coming into a season. I mentioned it, alluded to it a little bit earlier. I do think we're stepping into a season where we're seeing the deinstitutionalization of the church, and the work of revival is now going back out. I'm really formed by a couple of things. The Hebrides revival, and what took place there with three women in the Hebrides Islands in Scotland starting a prayer in their home, turning into a 50-year revival. of it, just incredible. Then the Workmen's Revival up in New York. It was a bunch of businessmen up in New York that would get off of their work on their lunch break and they would move, they would head to a local church and just start praying in the 1800s. And both of those movements really, I think we're sitting in a similar moment where there are people who are hungry. In the morning, I'm going to be jumping on a call just like this to meet with a contracting company, a construction company, that they have a Bible study every Wednesday where every single one of their staff members, they've got hundreds of them here in South Mississippi. They all loop in at the same time for a Bible study together, and they're praying and seeking the Lord for revival. And I think that we're going to start seeing those prayers, that hunger, leave the walls of the buildings of the churches and go into the boardrooms, go into the classrooms, go into the homes of people who are hungry for the Lord. And I think that that's the question now. It's not, do you have a degree? It's not, do you have conceptual knowledge? It's not, do you have the pedigree to be able to hold these truths? It's not that. It's, are you hungry?
Yeah.
Are you
And
hungry?
the bottom line is, to clear up this for anybody who's listening, we are the church.
Hmm.
If you follow Jesus, you are the church. What
That's right.
the New Testament describes as the church. And so what we're seeing is the church actually doing what it was always meant to do, which is
Yes,
go out into the community.
that's right.
Well, we are going to take a quick break. Just a little note here. If you've enjoyed Blake's story and you want to hear more like them, be sure to subscribe to our podcast. We'd love to have you as one of our followers. I love watching that little number go up. But be sure and subscribe. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, Blake is going to join us for our Philippians study. So hang tight. We'll be right back. Hey guys, Josh here. While we're on a break, I just wanted to talk to you about a couple things. One, we hope you're enjoying the podcast, but just so you know, this thing doesn't happen by accident. We've got a whole team of people that are behind the scenes that give each and every month that make Woodsman Ministries happen. And Woodsman Ministries is not just the podcast. We've got a weekly ministry that happens at lakes, at rivers, at all the waterways, where we're reaching out to men to connect them to Jesus through a love of the outdoors. And so if you already give to Woodsman, thank you so much. We could not do this without you. If you're sitting here going, man, I want to give, I want to be a part of that. Well, hey, we'd love for you to be a part of it too. All you have to do is go to woodsmanministries.com. There you can click your frequency of how often you want to give. There is no minimum or maximum gift. We'd love to have you on our team. Let's get back to the conversation. All right, guys, welcome back to the podcast. We're so glad you're here. Blake is still here with us. Blake gets to join us for our Philippians study. So up to this point, we've made it through 2 chapters. Andy, that's fairly impressive.
Compared to James?
Well, it took us like 30 episodes, like 30 episodes to get through James.
We got caught on like one verse for a whole episode.
Well, there was quite a bit there.
Yeah.
But just to catch everyone up on this point, Paul is in prison. Epaphroditus has brought a gift to him. He's been encouraging them from prison, mind you, right? Like I think Epaphroditus is like, this is supposed to be the other way around. Like, I'm supposed to be encouraging you and you're encouraging me. And so we're going to pick up with chapter 3. I'll read verses 1 through 8, and then we'll all get a chance to talk about it. So let me read it real quick. It says this, it says, "Further, my brothers and sisters, rejoice in the Lord. It is no trouble for me to write the same things to you again, and it is a safeguard for you. Watch out for those dogs, those evildoers, those mutilators of the flesh, for it is we who are the circumcision, who we serve God by his Spirit, who boast in Christ Jesus, and who put no confidence in the flesh. Though I myself have reasons for such confidence. If someone else thinks they have reasons to put confidence in the flesh, I have more. Circumcised on the 8th day, of the people of Israel and the tribe of Benjamin, a Hebrew of Hebrews, in regard of the law, a Pharisee. As for zeal, persecuting the church; as for righteousness, based on the law, faultless. But whatever were gains to me now, I consider loss for the sake of Christ. What is more, I consider everything a loss because of the surpassing worth of knowing Christ Jesus, my Lord, for whose sake I have lost all things, I consider them garbage, that I may gain Christ. So, with all that being said, the thing that I kind of want to hold in on, first off, I love that, Paul doesn't mind repeating himself, especially when it comes to the gospel. He goes through, and so he talks about, hey, one, it's no trouble for me to write the same things to you again. But he also, he gives them a warning, but then he goes through this whole resume of how, he's the, at that time, the Jew of Jews, right? Like he's the guy on top of everything. He's the guy that, should be content in what he's got, right? Which to the people he would have been writing to a Jewish person, that would have been very impressive. And I think there's a lot there culturally that we'll miss if we're not careful, just simply because we didn't grow up in a Jewish culture.
Right. One of the things that I really take away from the beginning of first off, Paul is a savage.
Oh yeah,
He
you don't play.
The dude has no chill whatsoever. The people that he's talking to, he's writing. He said, "Hey, I don't mind telling you the same things again." Basically, like I'm about to roll up my sleeves. First off, in the translation I have, it starts with "finally, my brothers," but it's not finally. Like he's doing the things that every preacher does, which he does
Yeah.
that third point. It's like
Finally,
finally,
just for
maybe
people
get
who
at
aren't.
least 30 more minutes.
Oh yeah, for people who are not familiar with church, when he says finally, like you've got about 45 minutes before you go to lunch.
That's exactly right. Like he says finally in chapter 3, meaning he's 75% way of the done with a 4-chapter book. And I just find that hilarious because I'm like, we've been doing this since the start, man. But then he goes out and he's like, look out for the dogs, those evildoers, and then the mutilators. And I'm like, this dude is not mincing words. These guys that come in to Philippi and they're trying to draw away this Gentile church and hold them at bay because what the Jews would call the Gentiles were dogs. Even if you go back to the New Testament, there's a moment where Jesus is talking to the Syrophoenician woman, and she looks at him and she says, "Have mercy on me." And Jesus says, "Hey, I'm here for the children of Israel. I'm here." And he said, "It's not good." He's testing her in these words. He's not a jerk. He says, "It is not good for me to give food to the dogs." And then using the word dog, that was the word that would have been used. And she comes back at him and she says, "Yeah, but even the dogs can eat the scraps."
Yeah.
And that's when Jesus says, greater faith, I don't know. You have immense faith. And so Paul's using that same language. He's reversing it. What the Jews would have looked at the Gentiles and like, yeah, you guys are the dogs. We are. He said, no, you need to be looking out for those dogs.
Absolutely.
And it's like flipping it on him. I'm just like, well, this dude has no chill.
And he was the missionary that, he went after the Gentiles more than anyone else we see recorded in scripture. I'd say outside of Jesus himself. Right. But he was the one that was like, in fact, him and Peter got into it a couple of times in scripture because Peter would kind of like get to hanging out with his Jewish buddies and he's like, okay, circumcision's in, circumcision's out. We're not going to explain what circumcision is on this podcast, but, don't Google that. But
Not right now.
or at least don't Google image that. You don't do that. I'll save you.
They weren't going to think of that until you mentioned it.
I ruined it for you. But him and Peter got into it because Peter's like, okay, you need to still be circumcised in order to be a follower. And Paul's like, absolutely not. Have you lost your ever loving mind? But the thing is yes, he doesn't hold back at all. And I love his emphasis here of he just completely upends. And I think in our society, we live in a culture. And I know, Andy, you see this a lot, especially because you work in the business world, of a lot of self-promotion. Like, this is my pedigree. This is my resume. Hey, look at me. And Paul is like, hey, I have all the reason to do that, but I count it as loss compared to Jesus.
Right. I mean, and I think that's the big picture. Every day when you wake up, what are you setting out to do? Make yourself more accolades, more awards, more earthly treasures? Or you focus on what God has in store for you and the purpose he has for you and the plan he has for you. And in the business world, it's all about what have you done, but what are you gonna do for me now? What have you done lately? Right? It's always about that next thing that
Mhm.
the Bible's so different, and the way he words that is great. That's not what we should be focused on
It's never ending, by the way, of
ever.
like no one cares about, that big sale that you made 5 years ago.
Or last
Mhm.
week.
Right.
Now you got a bigger plan, a higher target, a more loftier goals, whatever it is. It's always what have you done for me lately? And it's the rat race.
Mhm.
And that's what when you grow up, you're taught that's what you compete in. That's what you strive to become better at, and that's how you win in this world. But that's completely not true at all because
Mm.
you will always want more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even when you start out with somewhere. Hey, I remember going as a high school student, like, hey, I just want to have that white picket fence. If I ever made six figures, that would be incredible. Like, I've won, I've succeeded. That is my goal in life. Now you look back and go, that doesn't even make sense
Right.
at all.
Mhm.
Well, and it goes to, we had this episode's being aired the week after Thanksgiving, and the week before Thanksgiving, we had Jamie Jones on, and one of the things that I really took from that podcast was that it's that furthering, and Charlie, her husband, said the same thing of Jesus he doesn't want your resume.
Mhm.
He doesn't want anything from you, but he wants everything for you. And that changes the game of like, hey, when you give him your life and you say you surrender and you say, hey, Lord, I surrender to you. Yes, you are giving your life. And someone might go, I got you. Like you have to give him your life, right? Like, well, here's the deal. Your life can be in complete shambles, and it probably is. Of
Mhm.
everything's falling apart, and you're laying your life down before God, and God's going, that's it. That's all I needed.
But to see them work through the legalism of, and even I guess the tasks assigned with certain things that they were researching, investigating, and trying to learn more about God in their search for God, for them to have that realization, for Jamie to have that realization, for that to come from him was incredible.
Yeah.
Just I never thought of it that way.
Mhm.
Growing up in the faith, just like you did, Blake, we're taught I accepted Jesus when I was 8. And we're taught who God is, what he's called us to do. And I never researched what Satanism looked like, or some of these other legalistic areas where you're asked and required to perform certain tasks or they want something from you. I've never grown up in an environment around that. So to hear that perspective was
Yeah.
incredible. It actually changed my thoughts about it too, because I've never thought about that.
Well, and every other belief system is what can you bring to your deity?
Right.
And the reason why Jesus died was because we couldn't bring anything. It's imperfect, it's broken. We can't bring what can I give God that he doesn't already
It's
have?
all his. Yeah.
Right. Like what can I give him? Right. There's no good deed that I can do that's ever going to be good enough. It's that bottomless pit. Right. But the thing is that's why Jesus died. And Paul's sitting here making this case of, hey, I've done it all. I was circumcised on the 8th day. I was from the tribe of Benjamin. I'm a Hebrew of Hebrews. I had zeal. I persecuted the church. I had so much zeal. I had all the righteousness. I was faultless. But whatever were gains to me, I now consider loss.
Mhm. Yeah, one of the things that I really take away in this text is the phrase because of. Because one of the things that really struck me as I was reading, it says, for the sake, I have suffered the loss of all things and count this as rubbish, right? But you go one verse above that, let's see. Indeed, I count everything as loss, what you're saying, Josh, because of the surpassing worth of knowing Christ Jesus, my Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the worth. And so the question I think that we have to come to terms with, like, why was Paul willing and able to count everything that he had brought into his life, everything, all the accolades that he had given up? There had to be some linchpin for him to be willing to just throw all of that away. And the thing that was the linchpin, the thing that was the motivating factor was knowing Christ. I think that sometimes as believers, we can get this kind of game mixed up, that we're putting two value systems at play. which is my life now or my life in heaven. And whenever you think that you get both of those things in the same time, like that's the value proposition, right? It's like I can live my life now and glean all these things, and I get my fire insurance, I get new salvation, I get to go to heaven when this life is over. But the two don't interact because one's now and one's later. It's like the candy, putting it together, like a now and later. But
I just
for
now got that.
yeah, I had to
Well
say it for
done.
you. Thank you, thank you. It's but for Paul, that's not the value proposition. It's not those two things. It's not comparing. So the reason why everything in this life has fallen by the wayside as rubbish. I mean, it is on the same level as trash. And while he was able just to tear into those dudes, because that's what those guys were doing. They were building the value proposition of I'm going to gather all of the accolades now so that when I stand before Jehovah in the time to come, it will bring me to the place where I will be able to ascertain and to attain eternal life. The reason why he just dogged on that was because it's the incorrect equation. It's not the right connection. It's the because of phrase where
Yeah.
you say all the other stuff, rubbish, because of the surpassing worth of not knowing where I'm headed, not knowing what heaven's going to look like. All that's going to be great. But heaven is heaven because Christ is there
Yeah.
and he is the surpassing worth. And so that's the question that I'm praying. And it's like when I'm driven to pray, it's like, Jesus, I don't want to value my life now versus my life then. I want to value you versus everything else. And there's no comparison.
Yeah.
But he makes that known, if that makes sense.
Well, it's that walking with him, right? Like what, you know, I'm experiencing the kingdom right now. I'm experiencing it in my life here on this earth. Now, I don't get the full experience, right? Because I'm still in this human body. I still like deal with pain and sickness and all that stuff that sin brought into the world, right? But the peace, the joy, the patience, the kindness, all those fruits of the Spirit, those are glimpses of heaven. And so I'm getting to experience that now, that contentment that Paul says, hey, I figured it out. This is the contentment. I've learned how to be content. And no matter what situation I'm in, is you're getting to experience that because of your relationship with Christ. And so on the flip side of that, you can experience the relationship with Christ, but you can also experience the absence of Christ in your life. And that to me, my man, that's hell on earth. Of, hey, I'm striving, right? Like I'm reaching for that bottomless pit. I'm trying to find fulfillment in my job. It's not there because just like we talked about, Andy, of it's, no one cares about what you did last week. They only
Yeah.
care about what you do this week. And inevitably what you did this week, they're not going to care about next week, right? Like it never seems to be enough. We gather, we get the brand new car that we always wanted, and then a shopping cart hits it and scratches it. Or your neighbor next door gets a nicer car, right? You put all this energy into getting married and finding the person that you're like, hey, this person is the person for me. And then you deal with, because you're moving in with another human being, you deal with the struggles and the things that come with that. And then you begin, and that's why people like step into infidelity and stuff like that, because they start looking around going, well, this wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I thought I was going to be happy 24/7. I thought it was just going to be, like she's always going to look amazing all the time. It's going to be like crazy sex all the time. It's going to be just fulfillment all the time. It's going to be all the things, right? And then you get there, and because you're two sinful human beings, you go, well, this wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And then I start looking around. That is hell on earth, because you're striving and you're constantly searching. And Paul's going, hey, no matter what situation I'm in, he's in prison right now. No matter what situation I'm in, kill me, lock me up, set me free, do whatever. My contentment and my confidence, which is verse 4 here, my confidence is in Jesus. And so he's experiencing the kingdom.
So we shared this when in the study through James, but remember the Tom Brady video?
Yeah.
So Tom Brady just won his 3rd Super Bowl and he was being interviewed, and not even realizing what he was saying, he said, like, this is it. This is what it's supposed to feel like. I'm still empty.
Yeah.
Like, so, I mean, do I need to go get a 4th? Like, what's next? There's got to be more to this world.
What is on this planet that he couldn't buy at that point in time?
Right. That his wife couldn't buy at that
His
time.
wife was worth more than him.
Yeah.
And he's
But
sitting there.
that's crazy because that's someone that we idolize. That's a pro
Yeah.
athlete that you're like, if I was only had their life,
How
if I
many more?
could only, yeah,
He's like, how many Super Bowl rings I got to win to finally be happy?
yeah, he's at 7, and I don't think he's there.
All he got for that was that statue. That boy got gypped.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, is I really want to encourage our listeners of, hey, and you might be on the fence. We talked about that week before last with Jamie, of you might be right on there on that fence going, hey, maybe I'll try this thing, maybe I won't. I love that Jamie said, like, what do you got to lose?
Right.
And so the thing is, contentment is on the line here. Like, do you want to experience that fullness that Christ offers? Or do you want to try to do it your way? And I'm gonna be honest with you, I've tried it my way a bit. Like, that don't work too well. Well, guys, we are coming up on our time, Blake. Thank you so much for joining. We're going to be praying for you as you continue. It's forthecoast.org.
That's right.
We'll put that on the screen. We'd love for our listeners to go check this out. But Blake, thank you so much for joining us. And guys, as always, tell someone about Jesus this week.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Words with Woodsman podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new episode. We'll see you next time.